be a sad one. Not gonna lie to you. You're gonna see some tears. Because we're doing the Imitation Game.
Intimidation. Is it imitation or intimidation?
I thought it was Imitation. Oh God, have I been reading it wrong this whole
Hold
time?
on. Jesus fucking Christ.
Damn you, dyslexia.
Is it in what
It's
was
Imitation.
it? Imitation. All right.
Yeah. Okay. I was right.
Yeah, that was my dyslexic ass then. That was
All right. So we'll talk about the movie first, and then we'll go over the real history, as we always do. So this one, as we were just saying, ooh, bit of a snore fest. Which kind of sucks about it, because I do love me some Benedict Cumberbatch. That will reel me into any movie.
I just like weird British men. Not even from like in a like I'm not his face to me looks like somebody hit him with a frying pan. Like so like I'm not attracted to him, but I just like funny little British men as
I
like
will say,
characters.
I do think like the British humor and stuff like that, I do find funny and attractive.
Yeah.
But then
Yeah.
I think Benedict Cumberbatch is pretty sexy, but I love me a lanky man. Like
Yeah, see, I don't
tall and spindly.
there's
That's
a
where
sweet
I'm
spot. No, there's a
at.
sweet spot for me. Like I don't want someone that's like huge, like bodybuilder. That freaks me out. Like you
Yeah.
look uncanny, you look weird. Like you look like somebody made you in The Sims. I don't like it. But then if you're too like skinny, like I know realistically I'm not that large, but in my head, if you're like too skinny, I'm like
I will
no.
say it's one of my bigger fears because my husband is a spindly man.
Yeah, but
And
he's like tall, like he's
he's
like
tall and he's
wide.
beanpole. He is not wide, he is a
Well,
beanpole. Come on. And
again, I'm very small. Even if
you
in
are
my head
tiny.
I'm bigger. So like to
Yeah.
me he looks like he's wider than I am. So that's like wide.
Yeah. Well, he's 6'4" and under 200 pounds. So he's very thin. And
Yeah, that's
then,
fair.
but my biggest fear is that people will look at us and think of the number 10, because he's so thin. And then I'm like,
No,
oh, I don't
I
want to be
think
the
most
round one.
people look
I don't want
I
to be
think
the round
most
one.
no, I think most people look at both of you and think, "Damn, he's really lucky." Like
Aw,
I'm not fucking playing with like I
thank
wouldn't
you.
say some shit. I'm not a nice person. I'm gonna stare directly into the camera. I am not a nice person. So if I'm saying something like that, it's real shit. Anyway.
We got off track now. But anyways, I do. So Benedict Cumberbatch, total man crush. Love him, and I love him as an actor. And I do think he falls under method actor. That I think he really tries to get into his character's headspace and probably
Yeah, I
stay
think he
there.
got kind of typecasted after he did Sherlock, but he is really good at slipping into roles. Like,
Yes.
we'll talk about it more when we talk about the actual like what happened in the movie. But there's no way for us to know historically if this is true and accurate or not. But the way that Benedict portrayed him in the movie, he did such a good job about portraying a queer autistic dude, like severely autistic, not to be like we're not putting those types of labels, but he is totally socially inept and
Yeah.
totally obsessed with machinery and like that kind of stuff.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he is me and him would get along just fine.
Oh
And
yeah.
he did a really good job of like just stepping into that role and that feeling even if it's never explicitly stated like hey we think that Alan Turing
Was super autistic.
was autistic.
I will say, so of course the movie starts out, it likes to do its time jumps in this one. And then of course the almighty voiceover monologue that no good movie can go without. So that's where we come in, that he is sitting in an interrogation room. And then it kind of jumps to them at his house. He's been robbed. He's kind of like, just get out. I don't need you. Just gonna clean it up.
Yeah,
Don't worry about it.
I
But the
don't want anybody in my
detective's like,
space.
yeah, the detective's like, what a fucking asshole. I'm gonna dig into this. Um,
For no
which is
fucking
so fucking
reason.
weird to
Like
me. And I don't know, maybe that is like a UK thing. Maybe in Europe they are kind of like, if the cop wants to pursue it, they're gonna fucking pursue it. But like in America, once a person goes no case, they have to drop it.
Uh,
Like
not always. Not
there are
always. They
very
will
few cases,
find
sort of
stuff.
like dead bodies. You got nothing. If a person isn't even gonna mess with their own stuff, then most cops are
I
gonna be
mean,
like, okay.
they can kind of harass you though. It's just a different kind of harassment that they'll end up doing here in America. Like if they want to be an asshole, they're just going to be an asshole. But yeah, he was weirdly like I didn't understand that. Like why are you so obsessed with me? Like what is your problem?
Which I will say, we have to think historical context wise. In the 50s, that's the Cold War, and that was affecting the UK too. So I think he was going down. I think this dude's a fucking spy route, you know? Like,
Yeah, like
I'm
he was going to get his
commie.
big break
Yeah,
or
I'm gonna get
something.
that fucking commie. I think that's where it was going.
Right.
Um, so and then this is like your first sign of like, he's kind of an arrogant asshole, which almost always leads straight into like, and there it is, he's autistic. Like,
Right. I was like, even in the initial, like that initial scene, I didn't even, everyone acts like he's such a dick, but to me, he's not. He's just very blunt and he
yeah,
doesn't understand why you care so much.
yeah.
And
I
he knows
say,
that he's smarter than you. So if you say dumb shit, he's
yeah,
going to be
he's
like, you're
just like,
fucking dumb.
and he's very much to call you out. Like he did those cops. He was like, you can't help me anyways. You're gonna find someone, okay? Like,
Right. Which I'm
so
sure
I
pissed him
will
off.
say, like that scene, you can almost get away with like, are we going the narcissist route or the autistic route? Well, the very
Yeah. It's
next
like,
scene, you're going to go, it's autism. Because
yeah.
this is where they jump back to 31. It's World War II, and he is interviewing for this top secret position. And the guy's, it's kind of funny because he's kind of like, well, why do
It's
you want this
very
job? He's like,
funny.
I don't fucking want this job. I just know I'm the smartest man in the whole fucking world, and you guys kind of need me. And I like puzzles, so it makes
Yeah,
sense.
it's like a win-win. Like I
Yeah,
get to do puzzles and you're gonna pay me to do puzzles.
yeah. He's like,
So
you're saying this is an unsolvable situation, and I can solve it. So just, you know,
let me do that.
just fucking hire me. So,
Right.
and the guy's like, get out of my fucking office. He's like, no. And he drops the big word enigma. And the guy's like, hey,
Yep.
how do you fucking know about that? And he's like, because I'm the world's fucking smartest man. So that's why. And
Because y'all aren't fucking
go ahead.
sneaky.
Yeah, go ahead and fucking hire me now. He did. He had like the whole dossier on it, which he made it sound like this was just like newspaper clippings. Like everybody knows this. But the military guy is acting like, how do you know that word? Who told you? What spies do you know? Like, it was, I feel
Yeah.
like that writing to almost made it a little bit clashy, where it was like, I don't know. I feel like their positions were almost too offset for it to make sense.
Yeah.
Like,
It made
either
it a
the
little
country at
awkward.
least kind of knows what the Enigma machine is, or they don't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right. Yeah. And it kind of I mean it makes sense later on in the movie why the general dude is like so on his case later, but just like right out the gate it was kind of like I and I was sitting there I was like I want to know how you know that. Like and they
yeah,
never explained anything. They
yeah.
just
Which I this is where I'm putting on the. I think the actors did their job. I think the
yeah,
writers kind of missed a
they
spot there
dropped the
where
ball.
you did
Yeah.
not properly explain to me, or at least infer in some way, where
Right.
he's either calling this guy a complete asshole, like it's in every fucking newspaper, dude. Everybody knows about this machine, or
Right.
the general needs to go, this is nobody in the country knows about this. We barely know about this. How do you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
push it
Yeah, they
away. He
fumbled.
kind of just kept it straight down the middle, which made it felt awkward to me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, they fumbled that. Yep, yep, yep.
yeah. So then he does get the job, and they cut to now it's a group of what, 5 men, something like that. And they're like,
Yeah.
this is the Enigma machine, and all the smart guys are like, ooh, like
Yeah.
coming in their
They're
shorts.
trying
They're
to
very fucking
outsmart each
excited.
other.
Oh yeah, and you had the one guy. You had two super nerds and the one kind of like charismatic. He was the more charismatic nerd, top
Mhm.
chess champion, and very intelligent, but had Alan still calling him a dumbass. Like,
Mhm.
and you could tell in that room of people, once again, Alan's not focused on anything other than this machine right here. And then you even have the MI6 guys, and I love how they dropped the where he's like, you know, Agent so and so MI6, and the guy's like, there's only 5 MI sections, and I was like, oh, it's not well known yet.
No,
Like,
that shit was classified for
yeah,
forever.
which I love. It's I just love little history Easter eggs like that, you know, like where it
Yeah,
makes you feel in that moment like, oh, I am in 1931. Where no, I wouldn't know what the fuck MI6 is, you know, like
right.
I like that part. And he's cool too. He's a total spy. Like, and I love that
Yeah.
actor. Um, I think I think the biggest thing I know him from is like the Kings, the shit, what's it called?
I don't even know what you're talking about. I don't even remember what this dude looks like. I'm not gonna front right now.
How do you not know him?
I
Oh,
don't
no,
remember.
I'm fumbling it.
The
Damn
only
it.
people that I remember is like Benedict, of course, and then the charismatic guy, and then there was like an Irish guy, but I don't.
Scottish.
Was he Scottish? I don't know. I
Yeah.
wasn't paying enough attention. I don't tend to pay attention to their accents very much when they're in movies and they're trying to differentiate between Irish and Scottish because 9 times out of 10 they don't fucking get it right.
Okay, the
Are
actor's
you
name
look
is Mark Strong, and he's in the Kingsman. Um, as one
Oh,
of
I
the
see. I know what you're talking about. All right,
yeah,
yeah.
he's in
I
Shazam.
forgot.
He's
I
in a lot of
totally
things, but I really
yeah.
like him as an actor. Um, he usually
Yeah,
plays
he's
like
a
the
good dude.
old wise guy, you know.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. He's good. Anyway.
Um, yeah. Anyway, so they're all like, "All right, we're gonna work together," and Alan's like, "No, I don't need you. If you could just give me my own office, that'd be great." And they're like, "No, you either play as a team or you get the fuck out. So have fun with your little toy." Like, to which
I was
by
cringing in that
this
moment
point,
too.
yeah, in that moment, because he's called them stupid now, said he doesn't need them or want to work with them, and then the army guys are just kind of like, well, but you're going to work together and leave. Now the whole room is like, well, fuck you, guy. Like, so
Right.
the next scene is, I guess they're officially like where they're going to be. It's set up as like a radio factory, but it's like, which I always found these kind of weird when they're like, it's a top secret area. It's a radio factory surrounded by MPs. Like, who wouldn't know the military? Like, the MPs are at the gate. You're gonna tell me that's just a
Yeah,
radio factory? Like,
I mean, I guess if you're looking at it from like a just a normal person standpoint,
yeah,
normal people that are like around there, they obviously know like, oh yeah, that's some military shit going on. But
yeah.
if you look at like land records, like building records and stuff, it is going to show. So unless you're a spy specifically going and trying to like infiltrate or find those types of places, like the
I feel,
actual like
but I think that's what I'm
nobody
saying.
else is
Like,
going to know.
yeah, but I think so. Yes, on paper, just I'm in Germany. I'm looking at, oh, they have a radio shop here. They have a hat shop here. But
Right.
yeah, they did have spies on the ground though, and it wouldn't be that hard to find as you just walk into a little town and go, "Oh, have you seen any military folk? Oh yeah, they're all over at the radio shack, you know, like
Like, yeah, that's
job
kinda
done,
silly.
going
Yeah,
back
you're
to
right.
Germany."
Yeah,
Like,
that's a little silly.
you can at least like have them dressed like factory workers, you know. I just feel like if you're gonna do it right. Everybody
Right.
has
Well,
to dress up.
that's where our all or nothing, like,
Yeah.
personalities come in. I'm like, "No," but I get what you're saying, yeah.
So he's there. He's more in a little corner, and here is our next such an autistic conversation of the guy going, Alan, we're going to lunch. And he's just like, doesn't
Alright,
even look
cool.
up from his book. And he's like, Alan, we're going to lunch. And he's just like, yeah, okay. And then he goes, Alan, can you hear me? And he goes, yes, I can hear you. He goes, I've asked you, do you want lunch? He goes, no, you didn't. You said you were going to lunch. And the one guy is like, so he goes, I'm sorry, did I offend you? And he's like, well, no, why do you think you offended me? And I'm just
Right,
like,
like
oh my
the
God.
autistic confusion is just, I felt it in my bones. Even now, sometimes B will do stuff like that where he'll just like say something like at me, and I'm like, okay. And then he's like, no, do you want to go we need to go do this. Do you want to come with me, go do this? And I'm like,
That's not
you
what you
didn't ask
said.
me a question.
That's not
Right.
what you said.
Or
So
he'll be like, oh, I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, come do this thing with me. And I'm like, you didn't ask me to come do it.
I think Jarrett's so much worse because that man like tries so hard to just strictly rely on nonverbal cues.
I
As
don't do
he'll
those
just be like,
well.
and I'm just like, high five? What are you what am
Yeah, what
I
are
supposed to do
you
with
doing?
that? Are you just points? And I'm like, you have to say
Yeah, I don't.
what?
Right, like what the fuck are you doing?
Please give me something. Like he gets so mad at me. But anyway,
Jesus.
so that happens, and that's where you see they start to build that like most of the group is kind of like Alan, you fucking suck. But the one guy is the Scottish guy, and he's the one who was like, Alan, can you hear me? And he's coming off as the one character who's trying to give Alan a chance. Like he sees good in there. He could tell he's not bad intentioned. But the other ones are kind of like, you're a fucking weirdo. We don't like you at all.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So then we get a flashback. Oh no, we're now back with the cops, and he's like calling to try to get his military history, and then I don't know what the fuck I wrote here. Oh, then you get a quick flashback to him talking about that he doesn't. The guys are talking about like we've decoded this already, and he's like, "Well, a clock's right twice. That doesn't mean anything. You're just guessing really well. I'm gonna create a machine that just does it for us." Okay, stop
Right.
talking. And then you get the super flashback, and you get him talking about like why people like violence and stuff. And it's a flashback of him being picked on as a kid, and they have him under the floorboards, and they're like banging on it and stuff. And
That was the craziest shit that I've ever seen. You
oh my
pull up
god,
these children are literal psychopaths. They pull up the
yeah,
planks of the floor in school, in the boarding school that they're staying in, throw another boy down in there, and then nail him shut under the floorboards of a
yeah,
classroom. That is the wildest shit that I've ever
horrible,
seen.
horrible,
What the fuck? How do
shockingly
you even come
horrible.
up with that? However, how do you even like? Do you read Edgar Allan Poe once and then go, you know what? What if we put a real body in there? Like,
I honestly never understood how, and I almost want to say it's such a common thing, honestly, why people feel the need to be so cruel. Like there's always at least somebody around you who just can't wait to be as cruel as possible to another person. Like, and it's craziness to me. But in the monologue, he's talking about like when you stop giving the violent person what they want, that's when they'll stop. And like he, as the kid, he just goes silent, and the other boys are like, "Oh, well, now you took all the fun out of it. You're not crying and stuff." And they
mhm.
feel awkward now, and I am like, possum really works, guys. Like when I was getting picked on in school, if you can't turn around, sometimes just playing possum, and they get real bored about it. Like, but it
Yeah,
was
I
just
just
like
fought
this.
back. I was
Hmm,
just, I just met them. I just became as mean as them, like at them, like not to other people, but like if you were trying to like say something to me or like do something, I'd be like, what are we doing? Because I will eviscerate you in every sense of the word. Like, and people just ended up leaving me alone. So it's like you have two options. You either just play
yeah,
possum and don't give in to them, or you match their energy. Either
yeah.
way,
I was
it
always more of
works.
a possum or turn it into a joke because most people went after my last
Oh,
name,
I
of
love
course.
laughing at people.
So I would laugh at the joke or make my own joke and be like, "Well, you could do that better by doing this."
Right,
And
your joke
it,
fucking sucked.
yeah, it took the fun out of it because if I'm laughing with you, I guess you're not having as much fun. So
Right.
I only had to get nasty a couple times, and honestly, I only think I survived it because of my size. like, because I'm a cinnamon roll, about as cinnamon rolly as I feel like it gets. So there was only a few times where girls actually got in my face to threaten me, like, oh, we're gonna fight now, where I had to be like, oh no, we're not. And then they'd be like, you know what, whatever. And I don't think it's because I was genuinely scary. I think it's just because I'm much bigger than most girls, that they were just like, you know what, maybe I won't do this.
Yeah,
Like,
maybe that's not a good
maybe that's
idea.
not a tree I want to climb up, you know? So,
Anyway.
anyways, I do like, so another boy runs in and saves him, and this is obviously setting up to be his first love interest, best friend, only kid who listens to him. And he oh, I forgot what he said, but Alan responds by going, my mom calls me an odd duck. And I was just like, I love that saying so much, odd duck.
Aw,
Like,
little duck.
so then we get um another scene. Well, you end up with a scene where like he goes to the military guy, or the military guy comes to him. I can't really remember, but he's kind of like, you got to do it this way. And Alan's like, well, who can I fucking complain to? Oh no, he wanted his machine. And the military guy was like, we're not building a fucking machine for you. And he was like, well, who's your boss? And he's like, oh. And he tells him, he goes, please tell on me. And Alan's like, well,
Yeah,
all
he said it's Winston Churchill at like 10
yeah.
Downing or whatever.
So
The
Alan writes them and
Yep.
gets MI6 guy to deliver it. And next thing you know, they're all in the general's room, and he's like, Alan's your fucking boss now. And sorry. And
Yeah.
Alan's like,
Also, here's 100,000 pounds
yeah.
in
He's like, we're
like the
building his
30s.
stupid fucking machine, and he's in charge thanks to fucking Churchill. And you can't argue with Churchill. So so then the guys, Alan's like, so I'm in charge now? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, well, you two are fired because you're dumb. And they're like, what
Yeah.
the And the Scottish guy's like, you can't just fire people, Alan. You can't fire them. And so I think they ended up did get to stay, but then he puts out this crossword to kind of try to find more smarter people, because he believes he's surrounded by dum dums. So,
Mhm.
and this is where we meet Keira Knightley's character, Joan Clark. And when she runs in, of course, the first thing she faces is just blatant
Sexism.
sexism. Just blatant sexism.
Yeah.
Ma'am, did
And
you complete this puzzle by yourself? I'd want to get so violent. Like,
I mean, it's period
seriously?
typical. Like it's
I
something that they would have just expected.
know.
Like they weren't allowed at this point in history, they weren't allowed to get like real
Anything.
degrees.
I know.
Like I'm doing a bunch of research behind me of women in astrology or astronomy. And like in the 19th century and up until the early 20th century, none of these women, like these women at the very bottom, they had only just they weren't even allowed to be professors really at this point. There were a couple of exceptions, but not really. And these women changed astronomy as a
Yeah.
whole, and they weren't even a lot of them didn't even get degrees after death. What do you call it? Post I can't say that word. They didn't
Whatever.
even get that when they
Yeah.
changed the entire industry, and this was the early 1900s. So like at this point, you have someone who's essentially a spinster, we find out, because she's like 25 unmarried,
Yeah.
and she's not allowed to get any major degrees. She could go to school for like shorthand and like secretary administration duties, or she could get a job at the switchboard and work her way up to like assistant manager or floor lead or whatever. But they didn't have, so like the fact that she walked in and was like, yeah, I did your stupid fucking puzzle myself. I'm not here to be a secretary. I did the puzzle. You gave me this weird cryptic message and I rode a bus here
Yeah.
by
Then,
myself. Like,
so he
what the
comes
fuck?
over and he's like, don't be late again, sit down. And he
Yep.
tells them, hey, you got 6 minutes to finish this puzzle. And the guy's like, can you do it in 6 minutes? He's like, well, it takes me 8, but we'll just, I'm more trying to see who they, and before he can even finish a sentence, she's already done. And she's figured it out. She's proven herself to be the best in the room. And it's only her and one other guy who even passed this test. And this is where they break it to them like, you're officially a super top secret person. Nobody can know what you do. You can't say shit to anybody.
Hmm.
And then the next thing is meeting at the place now where he's going to be building his computer, and only the guy walks in. So he's like, where's the fuck is Joan? So he jumps on a bus and ends up at her house and talking to her parents, because
Which
it
is
turns out her parents,
wild.
yeah, he's trying to explain how great his radio factory is and how important a radio factory, because he can't tell, hey, your
This is
daughter's
a
a fucking
stranger.
genius. Yeah, to obviously very conservative parents. And so they're in the kitchen sending her out with tea to tell him, I'm sorry, it's just not proper for a woman to live on the grounds and work with a bunch of men, or a single woman to do this. Probably not proper for a married woman either, but no woman. And at first he's like, well, what are you even saying to me? What is happening? And finally he does seem to, it clicks for him where he goes, oh, we have women secretaries. That's where you would be living with other
Yeah,
women.
you work with the
And
secretary.
they do church events, and yeah, church events.
Yeah.
So that the parents could hear that. But I love how he did like pick up on it without any
It
obvious
just took
her being like, hello, you know, like
yeah,
it
it
took
just
a
took him a
while, but he
minute.
did get there, you know?
Well, and I think part of that is like he has a very logical mindset, and it doesn't make logical sense because it's not a logical thing that they were doing to these women at the time. So it took him a minute to be like, "Oh, I need to pretend because they are very stupid." So
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. And to which she runs out of the house and she's like, why are you helping me? And he says, you know, because great things can come from unexpected places, you know? So I need
right.
you to come be great.
You did my
So
fucking puzzle. What do you
yeah,
mean? You did the puzzle.
yeah, you're obviously intelligent. Get your ass over here. You do the puzzle faster than I did the puzzle. So, you know.
Right.
Uh so then it jumps and you find out um everyone pretty much hates him. Like they're sick of this dumb machine. It's not working. He can't get it up. Um, you're getting the feeling that it's been some time now. Like lots of time has passed. Um,
Right, but this is also the 30s, and they're building what is essentially a computer that works
yeah,
majorly on its own. So it's
yeah.
like, no shit, it takes forever.
But I guess this is what is so crazy to me. Where I hope big inventions are still coming around the corner. But this was a time like that's what it was like, because to everyone else, this is sci-fi. This is hooey. This is
Right.
fucking air talk. You might as well tell
It's
me
magic.
leprechauns are gonna come marching in here. This is nothing,
Right.
and I have a war to fight. While he is
Right.
sitting there going, I'm telling you this is something. This will save lives. Please let me do that. You know, like I just wonder how many like uber intelligent people are out there trying so hard to make sci-fi come to life. But like people around them are going, this is not possible. It's too much money, it's too much time. We have other things to worry
I
about, you know? Like
I think that now it's not so much of like people not believing that you can do it. I think now in our society in America, it's more of can I market it and can we sell it for a lot of money?
very
And
true.
if not,
Then it's
I
nothing.
don't want to fund it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fund that.
That
So
just makes me
like
sad to think about.
it's a different it's the same kind of argument, but it's just a different argument.
Yeah.
Like
So
back then influenza was still killing huge amounts of people. Like they were very stupid. And not in a like you're fucking dumb kind of way, but just in a literally
oh yeah,
intelligence
there was
they were very stupid. They just did not know.
yeah, yeah. Um so then you so he's feeling the fire under the butt cheeks. So he decides
Mhm.
I'm just gonna steal this paperwork just real quick, and get them over to Joan. We're going off site
Right.
to
Right.
get second eyes here and stuff. Um and this is where you get the scene of her being like, oh, they say that, and they really start explain he's explaining to her pretty much what a computer is, what this machine is. And where I really loved, I just love the linguistic history here, because when In the 30s, when people were talking about a computer, they meant a computer. That was a person. It was a job of a person to do mathematical equations or whatever and solve a problem. So when he's telling her about this, he's having to put the word digital computer to identify that it's going to be a machine. And now these days, a computer is a fucking machine. That's all a computer is. Like, there's no double definition there. And I just I love that history part of it. It made me be like just giddy of the excitement they must have felt to be like, we're creating this huge thing, like.
Well, they weren't very excited about it because they didn't understand it. But half of the ladies listed behind me were part of a group in American astronomy literally called the human computers. Like, that's literally how they did things. The way we got to the moon was with
Yeah,
human computers. So,
exactly.
like, yeah, what he's talking about of like a machine that's going to do it with little to no human intervention is so outlandish to them.
Yeah.
Because how? And I mean,
Right. How does that
I
make
don't
sense?
know if you watched any of like the the committee questioning the CEO of TikTok,
A little bit.
but we still don't fucking understand how anything works. You still don't ask me how
Oh
Wi-Fi
my
works.
God,
I don't
those
fucking know.
dinosaurs.
I don't fucking but I
I
will
don't know.
admit that I
And I
don't
will
fucking
say,
know.
when we go over his actual life, the true story,
Yes.
it's real dumbed down because I'm not gonna lie. A lot of his biography, I was being like, like I still don't quite know what the fuck he did, but I know it was big. Like I could not explain it to you though. There none of it. So I did love that. I love um just because it once again made you feel part of that time when you had to add the word digital to things, like
Right. And
this
even then
it,
the word digital didn't really fucking mean a lot.
yeah, it
Like,
all people thought was like a machine, like so
right.
like my vacuum
It's an
cleaner,
alarm clock.
like
Yeah.
God, did they even have vacuum cleaners? They didn't have vacuum cleaners yet.
I think that they hold on. Keep going and I'm gonna look this up
Okay.
because it'll bother me if I don't look it up.
So then it jumps to a scene where the general has his military guys and then they're trashing the decoding place. And he comes in, he's like, what the fuck's happening? And they're like, we have a spy and we know it's you, my guy. And he's like, I'm
Mm.
not a fucking spy. And he reads this, he was like, this is way too fucking simple. I would do better than this. Like, and the general seems pretty gung ho. And now I'm kind of being like, well, shit, what got him out of this? I can't remember. The MPs come back and they're like, we didn't find anything here that was odd. So they were like, okay, well, I got my eyes on you, buddy
Right.
boy.
You're still
And
a
he's
fucking
like,
dig. Okay.
yeah.
All right. So this says asthmatic American inventor James Sprangler sold his idea for an electric broomstick like cleaner with cloth filter and dust collection bag attached to a long handle to William Hoover in 1908.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
But it was still probably like a rich people thing by then.
So they had like manual vacuum cleaners in the late 1800s, but the first like electric one was in the early 1900s. So
And they
they
would have
look
vacuums.
these pictures look like what I think of when I think of an old
Yeah.
vacuum cleaner with
With
like
the
the
little
tube.
round thing and then a long.
Yeah, they look like that. So they probably did have vacuum cleaners.
Yeah.
Totally off topic. But anyway, yeah, the police
It's always good to know.
were like, "You're still a fucking dick. We have 2
History is
minutes."
always welcome here. But yeah, the general was like, I'm gonna fucking get you, buddy. I'm coming for your ass. Um,
Yeah.
and on that, it's break time.
Yes.
We will be back. Welcome back from the break. Okay, so he's accused of being a double agent, and the guy's like fucking watching you. Um, and he has another autism moment, but I'm not sure what he did because all I did was go, "Damn it!" with the autism stereotypes. But I'm not sure what angered me anymore.
There were so many. I'm like, I'm trying to even
Um,
place it on the timeline of the movie, and I'm like, I don't know. It's just throughout the whole
We see in
movie.
a
It's fine.
bar again. But I think it jumps to him and Allison. They're like talking, and then the guys walk in, and she's like, "Oh, is that your
Oh,
team?" And he's like,
yeah.
"Yeah, but we don't need to talk to them." And she's like, "Hey, team," and they're like, "Odd, come sit with us." And she goes, "Okay." And he's like, "Why are you being nice to them?" And she's like, "I'm a woman. I don't have the luxury of not being nice to people I work with."
Yeah,
They,
and also you should be nice to the people you work with.
yeah,
Like,
and that
duh.
too. So this is where, and then the next scene, you see him kind of bring them some apples. He's like, "Hey, here's an apple," and then he tries to tell a joke, and then he kind of walks away. And I was like,
Yeah, that was his. She told him he should like bring them something, like bring them a
"Yeah,
gift. Like you're their boss, like you should show appreciation. And he brings them fucking apples. Like to be fair,
because
I'd be
he loves
stoked.
apples." Yeah,
I'd be stoked to get a fresh
I'd be
apple.
very
I
happy,
also love apples, but it is
and I'm
for
constantly,
neurotypical people, it is a
yeah.
very funny gift.
Oh yeah, all their faces were like,
The fuck?
"Okay." Like, um, oh, they got Christopher up and running, finally, but then it kind of just keeps running. Uh,
Yeah, it's not actually doing its job. It's
yeah,
not decoding
it's not solving
anything
anything.
or
And he's getting
right.
stressed out, and the general's like, "Boy, howdy, unplug the bitch. You're out of here, bud."
Yeah,
Like,
he tries to, and he like they show up to like the radio
yeah,
place, the warehouse, and he tries to lock them out. He's like, "No, no, you don't have to come
he
in.
sees
You
them
don't
coming. He knows
need to
what's,
be."
he's like so stressed, and he sees him coming. He's like, "Oh, fuck." And he like locks the door. He puts a bar through. It's just a little shed,
Yeah.
pretty much. He's like in a fucking shed. Okay. And so the guy's like, "Open the door." He's like, "No." And he just like, "All right, kick
Such a
it in, MP."
petulant.
Yeah, so he kicks it in with him, and he goes flying, and they're like, "Unplug it, we're out of here." And he's like, "No, no," he's very freaked out, of course. And he's like, "You don't know what you're doing." He's like screaming and stuff. And they're like, "Have you done anything? Have you solved anything?" "No, you haven't. You've wasted our time and money. Get the fuck out of here," right?
Right.
But luckily, he gave apples out, because the guys go, "No, you fire him, you fire us."
Hmm.
And even Alan's like, "Seriously?" And he's like, "Yeah,
Yeah, he didn't
I
believe
don't even
it.
like what I'm saying right now, but yes." And he looks at the journal. He's like, "Look, this is our best hope right here. Alan's right. This is our best hope. We'll figure it out. Give us 6 months." The general goes, "You got fucking 1 month. So figure your shit out." And he leaves all huffy because he lost again, bitch, to science. So they're back at the bar. They're kind of celebrating. No, then comes a scene where Allison's like, "I gotta go. My parents want me back home. It's not right for me to be here as a single woman once again. It's getting inappropriate." And this is where Alan's like, "Well, I'll marry you. You need to stick around." So, and she's like, "You fucking proposing to me?" He's like, "It just makes logical sense. And I like you. So, yeah." And he gives her a little string, and then they're at the bar. And this is where, and you've also, I have been skipping, there has been some more kid parts where like him and his friend are passing notes to each other, and it's very clear that they are more than just friends. And now the bar scene, the Scottish guy who's been the nice to him is like, "You're gay. We know you're gay." And
Yeah.
he's like, "I feel wrong. I feel like I should tell Joan, because I feel wrong. I like her, but I do feel wrong trying to marry her." And the guy's like, "Don't do that. It's
Yeah, you
illegal.
can never tell her.
You can't ever tell her. You can't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. Uh,
Yeah.
because it's super illegal.
Yep.
People have died for that. So don't do that."
Right.
And so then it moves on then from his personal life.
Well, no, they she's got like her friends there. They're like celebrating the engagement or whatever, and she's got her friend there. And is that when the charismatic guy is convinced that the friend is trying to hook up with him? Is that the same scene?
Not quite. We got a
Okay,
couple more
sorry.
scenes till that one. Um, oh yeah, because then it jumps back to the cops, and they have found the male prostitute that Alan had apparently hired. They call him a puffer. And they're like, well, we got him. Your investigation's over. Awesome. We have a reason to arrest him. And the cop, if this is how it actually happened, I would feel like that cop has to feel like an asshole. Because in that scene, you can kind of tell on his face where he's like, well, no. I wasn't trying to do that. I want to make sure he wasn't as like something more serious wasn't happening. And his boss is like, no, this is great. Bring him in, arrest him. He's fucking gay. Awesome. And now the cop's getting passed on the back because he solved the big case, but like even he's like, that's not the case I wanted to solve. I didn't want to do that. And it's a great lesson. And mind your fucking business. Mind your fucking business. So then Alan gets brought in for interrogation, and he starts, and like I thought it was weird because the guy's like immediately asked him about machines, and Alan's like, so you read my papers? And the guy's like, huh, what would make you say that? And he's like, because I'm here for sucking dick, but you want to talk about machines. So I'm going to assume you know who I am. Like, I was like, this would be a mind numbing conversation. That would be tough for me to want to talk to that cop at all. Like, you're wasting my fucking time right now. Like,
right. Like, bro, why am I here?
Yeah. So then is the scene where they jump back and they're back at a bar now, and now they're split off. Joan's talking to her friend at a table, Alan's talking to his guy friends at a table, and this is where Joan's friend is like, I'm gonna get that guy. Smiled at him 15 minutes ago, haven't looked back since. And he's like, so weird. Oh, right? I was like, that's not a thing. Nobody does that.
What?
So then the guy's like, she wants me, smiled at me 15 minutes ago, hasn't looked back since. And Alan's like, what does that even mean? Like,
yeah, it's like,
what I was like, I'm like, that's not a thing. That's movie made up. This is bullshit.
No, I think some people do really act like that, and it's just autistic confusion. Because I would not. No, if you look at these
things like that, like,
right, that seems unnecessarily complicated.
Very.
Like,
just walk up to a person. My God. So he goes over and starts
forces Alan to introduce them.
He's like, Alan, you need to come over here with me and introduce me. And Alan's like, why the fuck would I do that? And he's like, I forgot his reasoning, but he was like, because you know shit. And the other guy's like, how much you want to bet Alan ruins it? And the other guy's like, I'm not taking that bet because of course he's gonna ruin it. So he goes over and the girl starts talking about her job. And well, they're doing this little tit for tat thing. And he's like, oh, women in the workplace shouldn't be there because they could fall in love. And Alan's like, I never fucking said that. And the girl's like, oh, well, I kind of agree because I fall in love with my work partner. And they go, what do you mean you don't have a work partner? She goes, well, and this is where she kind of spills the beans of we're assigned to certain tappy tap people. And my tappy tap person, I've have fallen for, but I'm pretty sure it's a girlfriend. And they kind of skim over it. And then Alan goes, hold up.
Because he's German.
He girlfriend.
And he's German. So he's like,
my boyfriend's German. And they're like, you don't work with a German. She goes, well, yes, I do, because we are assigned one person. So that you get used to their tapping and their coding and stuff. And he's like, hold up. How do you know he has a girlfriend? And she goes, right.
What are they fucking talking about? Like, what do you mean? We read all of these. What are you seeing in this that I'm not seeing that says he has a girlfriend?
Right. And this is where I love it because I am like, I don't know. I feel like I want to say this is where women would excel because I think men would constantly read over little things like that where she talks about, well, he's always using the same letter, Cilloy. It's a female name. It's probably his girlfriend. And they're like, but they have to use random numbers. But it's like you almost they took out the human element. Right. Yeah, you tell a human to do random things, we still pull from our pots, you know? Right. Like, nothing's ever truly that random. Mm-mm. For us, anyways. So this is where he's like, holy shit. And it hits him, and he runs out, and he knocks the cocky guy, and he spills his beer on the girl. And then he realizes what's happening, and he's like, I'm sorry. And he drops it.
They all just like,
runs off too.
Like, they dip.
we're fucking out of here.
Back to the warehouse.
And what I love, this was another scene where I was like, seriously. So they have to run through the MPs again because the gate's always guarded. And Alan sprints by them and they're like, wait. And then they grab everyone and they're like, we have to go. Here's our shit. But I want to be like, I know that's the same fucking guards you've been having to stand next to for years now. I know those are the same guys.
Well, maybe they have like night shift rotations and maybe the night shift guys never really see them.
It's
possible, and it could be dark
because they've already shown they go to that bar. Like, yeah. There's always
I get it. Shifts. I forget people's faces, who they were, bro. So I wouldn't know who they were. I would be like, wait, who are you? Like, I would be confused.
You have to stop. So anyways,
but they get through.
Yeah, they get through. They get back. They're like, pull out the letters. The machine doesn't have to guess every fucking word. We already know certain words aren't a part of it. Put in those messages, and the certain words are always in the message, which was like weather and Heil Hitler, right? So they plug in those words. That's what
they started with.
Yeah, and those letters, because they're in every letter, so clearly they won't be part of any message. And then, bam, they did it.
Yep.
Cheering in the streets, crying. They fucking broke the code, bro. They broke it. And he says, he looks up and he goes, I guess the only German you need to know was Heil Hitler. Like, all teary-eyed. I was like, oh, it's pretty powerful right there. But they did it. And then they immediately get hit with the trolley situation where they're mapping out everything, they're decoding all the letters, and they map out all the ships at sea. And the girl goes, holy shit, an attack's about to happen. We probably only have minutes. And the one guy's like, get him on the phone. And Alan knocks it out of his hands. He's like, we can't. And the guy's like, why? And he ends up like punching him in the face. It's a very intense moment. And Alan's like, you have to think logically. They can't know we have this because they'll just change it. They can't know we crack the code. So if you go out,
it was like,
and do this, they're going to know, and everything we just worked 2 years for is out the fucking window. We'll be done. And then the one guy, and everyone kind of slowly goes, fuck, he's right. It's the trolley situation. You give up the whole war, hundreds of thousands of lives for the 500 that are about to go down? Or do you say 500? And the one guy makes it so much worse when he starts reading the ships, and he's like, that's my brother's ship. My brother's about to fucking die. You have to save him. And he's like, we can't save them. And he's like, who made you God? And he's like, I don't need to be God. I get to make these decisions because nobody else will. And it was just such a moment of like, oh shit. Because that's how it would be. That's how it is.
Well, that's war. That's war. No matter what, you're sacrificing someone.
Yeah. Like it, and it's such a
This is not the Avengers. It's not the Avengers. We have to trade lives. Like,
you had to.
It's just.
So then it gets a little bit montagey where they kind of jump back to his childhood. The boyfriend doesn't come back, so that's a sad moment. And then
from like break.
Him and Joan breaking up. He like sends her away because they he finds out the one guy is the spy. The Scottish guy's been the spy the whole time, and the Scottish guy's like, yeah, you tell him I'm a spy, I'm gonna tell him you're fucking gay, so don't mess with me, right? But then Joan ends up getting arrested for being the spy because he left those papers in her house. And the MI6 guy is there. And this is when Alan finds out MI6 put the spy there. He knew, but he wanted to use the spy to send the messages he wanted to send to Russia. You know what I mean? Like, without the spy's knowledge that he thinks he's being sneaky. He's not really being sneaky. He's being snuck on. So, but he ends up, because Joan got arrested that one time, he ends up sending her away, being like, I never fucking liked you.
Well, she didn't even actually get arrested. He was like, she's just at the store or something. He totally lied about her being arrested, but it freaked Alan out so much that he was like,
you gotta go. Just so he's like, engagement over. I never fucking liked you. Get out of here. She slaps him. She's like, I fucking deserve to be here. You're an asshole.
Right. And then he's like, I'm gay. And she's like, I fucking know, but this could be the best partnership.
Yeah,
Right. Like, we could work so well because you'll
yeah.
just let me do what I wanna do.
Just let me be in your life. Let's do this. But he was like, no, get out.
Yeah.
So she
Tough.
ends up leaving. They end up getting told before you go because they kind of like, oh, war over. They show scenes from America and Britain of, yay, we won the war. Uh, and they're like, hey, before you go, burn everything, of course, because this is all top secret, and nobody gets to know you guys ever existed or this ever happened. Because if another war breaks out, we need them to lean on old reliable there, and we can keep breaking that code faster.
Yeah, we gotta keep Christopher a secret, which Christopher was also the name of his little
Yes, and then
first
you
love
find out
that he lost.
that he had died. He'd actually been a sick child with what do you call it, bovine
Bovine.
tuberculosis,
Yeah.
and it's a really sad moment because he's trying so hard not to cry because he's trying to say, no, I didn't know him, I didn't, that even at that young
Yeah,
age he
with the
knew
headmaster.
any
Yeah, with the
implication of him
headmaster.
being gay was not okay. So it was just, no, I don't have, we weren't close at all, nope. And even in that moment of finding out his first love pretty much and only friend has died,
Right.
he has to keep that. And the headmaster said, oh, he had a stiff upper lip. What a good boy. And I was just like, oh, I hate that. Don't have a
Yeah.
stiff upper lip. Cry, like,
Yeah.
so
Yep.
you have that heartbreaking scene. And then, um,
He's back at the police, right?
yeah. And then it jumps to, no, he's back at home now and his hands are shaking. Joanne's visiting him and she's like, why are you
She sees it in the
shaking?
paper. She sees it in the
Oh,
paper
yeah.
that he was a
It's in the
Cambridge
paper that
professor,
he's,
was arrested for indecent something,
yeah,
indecency or whatever, so
which
she
is
goes to
pretty
visit
much
him.
just gay. He was convicted of
Yeah.
being gay, and she goes and she's like, "Why are your hands shaking?" He goes, "Oh, it's the medication." And she's like, "Medication?" He's like, "Well, it was either medical castration or going to jail for 2 years, and I didn't want to go to jail for 2 years. I need to keep working on my." He's surrounded by computers and stuff. He's still inventing and working on things. And she's trying to make him feel better. She's trying um,
Yeah, she keeps saying,
to
"I'll go
be
talk
there
to the
for him.
doctors. I'll
Yeah.
go do this." I She's trying to,
And
like,
he's
take
just like,
care of
yeah, she's like,
him.
let me fix this. And he's like, you don't, and you can't. And uh, this is where
It
I'm going.
was like, I know, he said something like it when he was explaining to her why he chose the hormone therapy and the chemical castration versus going to jail, he was like, if I go to jail, they will take everything in my house. And he had built like a replica of Christopher.
Yeah,
And he was like, they will take Christopher from me and I will be alone. And I
yeah.
don't want to be alone. I can't be alone. They cannot take Christopher away from me. And he totally loses it.
Oh
And
yeah, total breakdown. Yeah, and she's trying to
she
hold
ends
him
up
and stuff.
comforting him. Yeah.
And then he's like,
Um,
well, I'm sure you're happy because he's like, you got the job, you got the husband, you must be really happy you turned out normal.
right. And he doesn't say it in like a mean way. He's not being like
No,
mean about it. It's very
yeah,
just like you got what you wanted. Like you're married, but you're still he still allows you to work. You're still like doing what you want to do with your life and you're not stuck with me. Like imagine if you were stuck here with me and you were the wife of the
yeah,
Cambridge professor.
of all this.
Right. Like you
And
can't no.
that's when she's like, you know how many lives you saved.
Yeah, and nobody else knows because they had to burn
Yeah,
everything. They
at
had
this time
nobody
he wasn't being
knows.
recognized at all.
Mm,
And she was like, I'm so grateful you're not normal.
right. If you
And
were
it's just,
normal, this wouldn't have happened. Like if you were
yeah,
normal, we would not have saved all of those people. We would not have cracked Enigma. Like it they never would have been able to do it on paper as human computers versus
yeah,
digital computers. So like if this wasn't who you are, every piece of you of who you are, then this would not have happened.
yeah,
And, like, at that point, it's kind of like at that time in history, he really didn't have a choice. Just
Yeah,
like so many other men that did not have a choice, and other women that they didn't get castrated in the way that the men did, but they did get female genital mutilation, and they did get thrown into totally unregulated total cesspools of mental institutions. Like
yeah.
it, no, yeah,
It's
yeah,
really hard because it's like he did die alone. Because you would
yeah.
find out they show them burning the papers at the very last scene, and that's when they put up the words of the history of like he died a year after because he only had to get the chemical castration for a year. But he died of suicide a
Yep.
year after, um, with no recognition, and
Not
he
while he was
wouldn't get
alive.
any recognition for decades to come. And he died at 41 alone.
Right. After doing all of this. And I think it was like Queen Elizabeth or something gave him a full pardon in like 2014 or
I know,
something.
but
And
I
it's
always
like,
kind of
come the
hate those
fuck
animated.
on.
So I'm just like, they feel so phony, you
They
know?
are. It's just a publicity stunt at that point.
Yeah,
Like you waited till 2014, like
yeah. Not
the
his
2020 and
family isn't even
2200.
there to say anything. Like he got
Right.
an
He didn't have
official
children.
apology in like '09, but it was like, and it was then it wasn't until 2014 when Queen Elizabeth fully pardoned him and stuff. But it was just like nobody was alive that mattered that could have even seen that, you know, like it
Yeah,
just
it was
feels
like
very
I don't even
empty.
know. Well, you would know more than you because you looked it up. I don't know if he had any like nieces and nephews or anything. It's
I know.
probably just like
Not that
distant
I could
cousins,
find. Yeah.
like people distantly related to him at that point. That
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, for the queer community, it mattered to
Oh,
a certain
absolutely.
extent, but it also shined a light on it still took you until 2014 and you guys effectively killed this man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just pardoning him is not fucking enough.
Yeah. So this movie, I will say, yeah, it took a lot of liberties. Not necessarily with him. Once again, because Benedict, I think, is such a method actor. I think he really did try to do his research, and also Keira Knightley, her research on her character, and almost got them spot on. My only problem, and even people who were interviewed about Alan, when this movie really portrays him as like the very classic white autistic man, like he wasn't described that way. He was described as being awkward. He didn't always get the social situations that were happening around him, but they described him as funny, charming, outgoing. That's how his friends described him. He was also actually openly homosexual. He was openly gay. I mean, not like screaming at the rooftops because obviously it was
Right.
illegal. But if you were able to get into his inner circle, the whole team knew he was gay. She knew he was gay. It was all from the beginning. Like he never tried to necessarily hide it from people he was close to. He was also described as being a like if you lived back then, about as hippie as you would get for back then. Like in the movie, he's more shown as the buttoned up, the hair slick, and he was actually very much like wouldn't necessarily wear a tie, would have the scraggy hair, not long or crazy or anything because it's 30s, you know. Uh, but he was, and because he was so intelligent, he was like, your homosexual laws are stupid. And when he did get caught, he wrote a full 5 page confession. Like he had no shame about his confession. He went in there proudly, like, yes, I am a homosexual. This is what I did, and I'm not guilty because your laws are stupid, which obviously didn't work. And then also the scene where he because they described him when he killed himself. Some of his friends and family were like, he wouldn't have killed himself. He was still working hard on his computers and stuff. Even when he was chemically castrated, he tried to keep a happy face on. He tried to keep a smile. He was always still making jokes about it. Um, but the more you kind of read about him and stuff, I think, I think when you're that close to somebody, you don't want to think that they did that. But I think we all know depression is really hard. And then when you're in a situation where you're having to pretty much closet, you're never going to have your open, happy marriage because being a homosexual is illegal then. And then you're also autistic in a time when autism doesn't exist. Either fucking figure it out or go to the mental institution. Like, his life was very hard. And
Yeah.
I think he did kill
I
himself
think
in the end.
I think that people underestimate how easy it is to mask depression to even the people that are the very closest to you.
Yeah,
It is it is not that fucking hard unless someone is like living in your house. Like it would be when I go through mildly depressive episodes now that I'm medicated, B knows, my best friend knows because we talk all the time and will literally tell each other, hey, it's like yesterday we were supposed to play games and I was like, it's a sad day, and it's not, it was just like seasonal affective
yeah,
disorder, it wasn't, but like it's a sad day. Those two people will know. Everybody else that knows me, you would never know if I was going through a depressive episode because it's so easy to fool people into thinking that you're okay. People
yeah,
like have this idea that like, oh no, if my son was depressed, I would know. Or if my daughter or my whoever, my friend, if they were depressed, then I would know, or they would let me know if they needed help or da 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 da. It's just not true. You don't fucking
no.
know. It is so easy to fool you. It is
And
so simple.
you almost work harder to fool the ones
Yeah,
you,
you don't
because
want
you
them to
don't want to
know.
worry them. They're busy.
No.
They have their own
Yeah.
shit happening, you
And
know? Like,
what could they have done for him? Like, honestly,
exactly.
truly, what could you have done for this man in this period of time to make his life not excruciating?
Yeah,
Like, I am of the camp that if you get to the point to where you feel that need and you fully go through with it, like, I want everyone to get all of the help that's possible. I believe that every situation, 99% of situations you can come out of and you can get on the other side of and you'll be fine. But I also believe that there are smaller percentage of situations, like 1% of situation, people with chronic pain or people living back then and having to live how he lived in a world that hated him on multiple
no,
fronts, on a world that he didn't necessarily understand, and he just decided, I don't want to fucking do this anymore.
yeah,
And so he
yeah,
stopped, and you can't convince me that any point in time that he would have lived long enough for his life to have been able to turn around enough for him to be happy and at peace with staying alive.
yeah,
In that time period, no, there's a reason that even today, 2023, we do not have very many elder trans people. We don't,
yeah,
we have elder queers, we have elder gay people that have toughed it out and made it through the other side, but we have 10 times, 20, 30 times as many gay people who didn't make it out of the other side. And the trans community is a total flip flop of that. Like finding someone who is trans and has been trans for a really long time that are in the older category, I'm talking like 50s, it's
yeah.
like one in a million, because it's just it wasn't possible for the time frame. If you would have taken him and you would have put him in today's time, he could have lived such a good life.
Oh yeah,
But back then, I don't blame him at all for being like, I'm fucking done, man. Like my dick don't work anymore. And like
yeah,
I'm done. I'm not doing this
yeah.
anymore. Like more power to him. I hope whatever's on the other side, he found just the utmost peace. Like,
I do. I hope he found peace. Um, I did find, so the a lot of the movie was like made up. Like,
well,
how
yeah.
the group was made, that was made up. Her doing the puzzle, made up. These people were specifically recruited, which I think is like the obvious. The government knows what they're doing. They obviously needed the best in the world. they're gonna go find the best in the world. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
she was recruited because she was a mathematician at Oxford. Like, he was recruited because he I think at that time was even part of like the royal, like he had already done Cambridge, went over and did Princeton in the USA, and then come back and did more schooling, um, and like making his computers and stuff. So that's why they were all on the map already of like, yeah, these are the people who are gonna fucking get this shit done, you know? The whole there was a spy, but he didn't actually work in that sector. He did exist, like, but not their timelines did not cross. It was like a, you know,
Right.
they just were like, this sounds good to put in this. Because I think we do have to face it. While I love this story and I do think it's important, it is a boring story. It wasn't, it didn't
It's
have enough
Hollywood.
juice. Yeah, it didn't have enough juice to actually make a intense movie or anything. You know what I mean? Like, so I think they had to take what they could and put it in there.
Yeah, when did this movie come out? Wasn't it like
2014.
yeah, so, like, I think if they
Yeah,
were to make this movie now or were to make it like a TV series, we would get, like, more factual. Because
yeah,
now
and
I
that's
would
what.
love to watch a happy, like, happy-go-lucky, like,
Yes,
Alan
I would have
Turing and
loved.
then have him go home and show the realities of, like, the depression and stuff. Like, I would
Yeah,
love to see some kinda interaction with that and more like interaction with the actual queer community in that time because I'm sure he was super involved in it, being who he
yeah.
was and being more open about it.
He
That could
was
work
even
now.
traveling around to other countries, working with their gay
See, that would
community
be
to like start
interesting.
the rise up, you know, start fighting for rights. And I think I would have liked the movie. I think it is more than enough time now. Can we please show autism in a different light? Like, every time
Yeah.
we get autism, it is the very straight as a board, white man. I don't understand what's happening around me. I have very monotone voice, you know, like, I think Benedict did a good job. It's very clear it's autism. And I mean, of course, like, we don't know officially he had autism because it didn't exist back then. There was no,
Right.
but they took what they could and they compared it to today's DSM-5, and he's off the charts with it. So yes, the autistic community is claiming him as he was
He's
autistic.
ours.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
ours. You can't take him. And do you know he's actually known as the father of computers and AI? It was his equations and his thoughts or papers. Like I said, this is going to be very dumbed down. But if you are into this kind of stuff, obviously go look him up if you don't already know who he is. But the AI they created in 2022 was directly from his work, uh, just brought into the future pretty much because we have the technology now to
Yep.
do that, you know?
Right.
Which I just found so like in the 1930s having that idea, like, is so crazy to me because that's just so like huge to think about. Like, because I'm gonna be really honest, when I think of people in the 1930s, you might as well be a caveman to me, you know. Like,
Your sense of time is so off. It wasn't that like it was a long time. Like it was almost 100 years ago, right?
yeah,
Which is wild
I
to
mean,
think
yeah,
about.
they
But at the
had
same time,
radios,
like
they didn't even have TV yet. Like,
yeah.
was, which I get, like, even like Galileo was looking at space and stuff, and he was like way back. But yeah, I don't see the 1930s as that much different than like Greece, you know. Like, wasn't,
Girl, you need to
which
come
I know
you
my
need to come on to
grandparents would want to hit me for saying that, but
you need to come on to chaotic nonsense because we talk about we only do old shit. And
I
like
know,
I'll get you right. Like what you're thinking is not
but it
no. And the I
excites
well
me.
but
It excites
you
me.
have to remember that like during the same kind of time frame, you have people like Nikola Tesla
I
who is
know.
creating like all
Which
of
is
these
another
things are
thing.
happening
We might have to do a
simultaneously.
special where we do one of those episodes where you just talk about, like, did you know this person and this person are on the same timeline? Like,
Oh,
those fascinate
I could do
me.
that for
When I'm like,
years.
holy shit, are you serious right now?
Oh,
Like,
I could do
because
that. Yeah, I could make you a list.
the
Like,
way
I'm
they
telling
taught
you, you're gonna.
history to us is so very like linear, and it's so much bigger than that. And I get you can't, like, when you're talking, sometimes you have to dumb things down for certain age groups, and then, you know, if you're not going past a certain level, you
Well,
don't need to
no,
get into
don't
that full level. But
don't let our
no,
education system off the
not
hook like
ours.
that. They are
Ours was terrible,
fucking
and it's just getting fucking worse. But
garbage.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to teach all the nuance of wars and stuff to like a 7-year-old. Just the idea of just war happened. You know what I'm saying? Like, mm, you can't.
Now I'm trying to think.
Huge.
Now I'm
It's
thinking.
that big. You know.
Now I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, is the way I'm teaching Firefly wrong? Because there are certain things that we do go very in depth in that she learns at school, and she'll tell me she's learning about it, and I'm like, okay, what are they saying? And then she'll tell me, and I'll be like, all right. But like, for example, Thanksgiving, they didn't do anything for Thanksgiving at her school this year, which I was like, first of all, kind of weird. I expected some kind of like pilgrim thing. Like she's in like the 5th grade, so I still
I'm glad they
expected
at least got rid of the pilgrims. I'd rather them go
something.
nothing than that bullshit.
Yeah, they went to the other end was like nothing, and I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, let's learn about Native American genocide, and like we're
No,
sitting
because
in our
well,
kitchen talking about how Christopher Columbus was such a fucking fuck nut and came over and just destroyed, and then she got so like you say that, but
well, so here's what I
we
did, because our kids did do like I don't think they really did a Thanksgiving thing, but they did do specifically Christopher Columbus work. To which I
oh,
did. So
they
my
cut that out completely here.
they have not cut it out down here. So but I did tell my oldest is 9. So like I didn't tell him Christopher Columbus was a rapist genocider, but I did say he wasn't a good man. And when he didn't find America, first of all, I was like, he landed in Puerto Rico, okay? And I was like, he was not good to those people. He was a very bad man who hurt a lot of people, and he should not be famous the way he is. And I kind of left it at that. Now, when he's older, then we can get into like, he was a fucking rapist. He was a
Well,
bestialist.
yeah.
He
Well, we didn't
robbed
talk.
them blind. He
I didn't
brought
talk about
slavery to
rape,
the island.
but
Like,
I didn't talk about the rape or bestiality or anything. But yeah, the we did talk. Firefly is 10, um, and we did talk about genocide and slavery
yeah.
at
Well,
that
and I
time.
gotta say, even as a mom, hey man, know your kid. If your kid has the
Yeah,
intelligence level and
she
the
gets it.
comprehension, and you guys have that good of a communication
Yeah,
level,
she gets it.
you know what to go for. Mine are more like, yeah, whatever, mom, I want to go play with my car. So
Oh
I,
yeah,
I
no.
can leave it at the basics, and they're just kind of like, like,
Firefly is no nonsense. She's a true Virgo. She didn't believe that some dinosaurs existed. We had to literally look it up online because she was like, "No, absolutely not. Those were not real." This child has never, not one day in her life, believed in Santa Claus, and I didn't have anything to do with that. She just automatically said, "Okay, a
sounds like
man comes
bullshit,
into
mom.
our house."
Whatever.
Absolutely not. Like it's just the way she is. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
lessons with Scoot to a year old being like, yeah, so this guy came in and he killed everybody.
killed everybody. Okay, it was horrible.
Shit.
So we're down to our last minute, so we got to sign off. But
Mhm.
we just want to leave it with, stop treating humanity so shitty. Like, can we please?